gaming PC just came to shop because the second you put it under load, the CPU instantly spikes to over 100 degrees Celsius before the system shuts off to protect itself. So what exactly is causing these high temps? Well, typically anytime you see extreme temperatures like this, it's caused by one of three things. Either a bad pump, poor mounting pressure, or in our case, what appears to be dried up thermal paste mixed with what looks to be crumbs. And dried up thermal paste like this can absolutely cause these high temps. Because if you're not aware, thermal paste, otherwise known as thermal compound, is a paste-like material that sits between your CPU and cooler, not just because it transmits heat well, but rather because the IHS, or the integrated heat spreader that's on a CPU, isn't perfectly flat, nor is the base plate or bottom of your cooler. There are millions of micro imperfections on either side. And the problem with that is that these micro imperfections on either side create little gaps between the CPU and cooler itself, creating little micro air pockets between the two. And because air is not the best conductor of heat, and because it's sitting between the CPU and cooler, well, it prevents ideal proper thermal transfer. So that's where thermal paste comes in. You can think of it like a filler that sits between the CPU and cooler itself to actually fill in those micro air gaps so the heat can actually be transferred from the CPU to the cooler itself. The problem is, as you will see with this system, thermal paste dries up. It usually takes a number of years, but with this system being about 6 years old, I'm not too surprised. And when thermal paste does dry up like this, what happens is it starts to clump, creating new micro air pockets between your cooler and the CPU, which creates that original problem, leading to much higher temperatures. Fortunately, this can be fixed with some isopropyl alcohol. 90+% is always the best for removing thermal paste, and using that to wipe off this old paste. And with our CPU nice and clean, we can take some new thermal paste, get that applied, and reinstall our water block. This way, now when we go to fire the system up and load up a stress test, we'll see that our CPU temperature maxed out at 73 degrees Celsius, and it's sitting right now at about 66. We dropped almost 40 degrees just by a simple repaste. But I think these tips could be even better if we clean this filthy system up. I mean, this radiator can barely even breathe. So let's take this PC out back, and because I know I'm gonna get questions about holding this rear fan, which I can't access, well, I went ahead and put in a pick to go ahead and make sure it doesn't spin. So let's blow it out. So with this gaming PC running cooler than it probably has in quite some time, thanks to some fresh thermal paste, let's get this system back over to our customer.